They asked a lot of very probing questions. They required that the primary consideration is the intent of the voter and that there is no specific identification of what that means other than that it has to be determined on a case-by-case basis.
Much has been made of the notion that you would have to try to sway Justice O'Connor and or Kennedy. Did you direct any of your comments at them? Were you sort of looking at them more?
When they asked me questions, I looked at them, and when other justices asked me questions, I looked at them.
Was there any justice who asked you more questions than others?
I think they all asked a lot of questions, or almost all of them asked a lot of questions.
Did Justice Thomas ask any questions this time?
Justice Thomas did not ask any questions this time.
Justice O'Connor seemed to say that the voters should have followed the instructions. She seemed quite emphatic on that.
I think that Justice O'Connor did ask about that. I also think that Justice O'Connor was aware of the Beckstrom case that both sides discussed, in which the Florida Supreme Court, and this of course goes all the way back to 1917 in State against Darby, in which the Florida Supreme Court said, even though the voter is told to make an X in a particular place, if the voter makes the X someplace else, but you can tell what the voter's intent was, that vote has to be counted.
Minority voters feel as though they've been disenfranchised.
I wasn't particularly thinking about who was asking questions. I was just trying to answer the questions as they came.
Did you divine anything from the questions Justice O'Connor and Justice Kennedy in particular asked?
Not other than that they were very interested in the issues that both sides had raised and that they had obviously read the cases. Justice O'Connor had a number of Florida cases that she was interested in.
Is it true that this is the first time in the history that the Supreme Court has ever taken a case?
The court agrees that the votes need to be counted. We'll go back to Tallahassee and count those votes.
And if they agree that they're not to be counted, is that the end?
If the Supreme Court rules those votes are not going to be counted, then the votes are not going to be counted.
Is it a fact that December the 12th?
Mr. Boyce, why do you believe that there is more time, that there is enough time left to do what you are asking than some of the justices seem to be suggesting there is?
Well, first of all, we know that the count was proceeding very, very rapidly and could have been completed in about a day or a day and a half. Whether we can now get it completed in a day or not, I think is open to question. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
David Boies, the Gore attorney, was speaking at the microphones very, very quickly. In just a couple minutes remaining, over to Charles Bierbauer at our microphone. He was inside the courtroom. Charles, tell us about your overall sense and what you heard.
Frank, very much more grappling with the intricacies and the mechanics of the Florida voting process, down to the dimples and the chads, and the whole process of counting the votes and the protest and the contest and how that should be judged. And they're just informed about the mechanics and somewhat concerned about two elements of the law. From what would favor the Gore perspective, a lot of questions about the need for judicial review. Is there any reason why there should not be some form of judicial review in the Florida courts looking at the legislature, how it has defined the election laws? And from the other side, a point which the Bush attorneys very much wanted to get into this case and succeeded in this matter is the matter of equal protection. The notion that votes were being counted in different ways and in different counties, that there was no uniform standard. Repeatedly, justices from all across the ideological spectrum, and Justice O'Connor said, wasn't there a red flag there?
All right, Charles, we've got about 10 seconds or so before we hear this tape, so we're going to go and listen now.
We'll hear argument now on number 00949, George W. Bush and Richard Cheney versus Albert Gore et al. Before we begin the arguments, the court wishes to commend all of the parties to this case on their exemplary briefing.